Hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Benmergui, and this is my podcast, Not That Kind of Rabbi. The disclaimer, of course, is that I'm not a rabbi, but nonetheless, if I was, I wouldn't be that kind of rabbi. That's the way that goes, and that's the thinking I have about that subject. I'm going to explore ideas around spirituality, organized religion, disorganized religion, all the different manifestations of some of the people that I've come to know and love over the years, and just to sort of check in on the journey and see where they're at. Somebody who I have known for, most of my lifetime, since I was maybe 24, 3, something. We started together in showbiz. I came on first and he came on second. And then I thought, I like this guy. He's smart. He knows what he's talking about. And I've always enjoyed his company and always looked forward to when he comes to town. He doesn't live here anymore. He lives in Los Angeles or its environs. And he has spent many of his days on waves, but he'll explain that in his own way. His name is not Senior, but Junior, John Wing Jr., stand-up comedian, poet, and philosophical and political thinker, I would say.
Yeah, well, thank you very kindly.
How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. I believe the junior is no longer necessary as a result of something that happened a couple of years ago.
Is that the way that works?
I believe it is.
So that when the senior passes, there is no junior anymore?
Well, you don't, it's not de rigueur.
Do you still use it on stage?
No, I stopped using it on stage a long time ago, but I
Yeah.
still use it as my author name.
So that...
Because apparently O. Henry was taken.
Except in the chocolate bars.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, you could have called yourself Kit Kat, I guess.
Oh, Kit Kat. That's me.
What's your favorite chocolate bar?
Oh, that's a good one. When I was young, it was Aero.
Oh.
But because I liked things plain and pure. But I think Coffee Crisp is probably my
Coffee
favorite now.
Crisp, the sediment layers of Coffee Crisp.
Yes, the rock strata of chocolate.
The geological wonder of
Exactly.
Coffee Crisp.
I gave up candy about 2 months ago.
2 months ago?
Yeah, finally. I gave up candy.
You a lot of things in your life you have
I've-
give them up.
I've had to give them up, yes.
What is that about?
Well,
what is it's almost a ritual for you.
I only got addicted to everything I ever tried. So
right.
there were some things I was lucky I didn't try. And as I age and at a certain point you're going toward where the sea falls off, right? And you feel the downhill slide. So you have to I still drink cola, which is probably not a great idea. I still have sugar in my coffee, but the candy thing, and I lost 10 pounds.
How much candy were you eating?
Well, I just stopped a particular avenue of sugar. I just stopped it. And here, this is the weirdest thing. I was in
Grape Lolas? Like what were they?
Oh, I like peppermints a lot, particular Canadian type. Not the hard shell ones.
With soft chocolate with the mint.
No. They're hard, but they're powdery. The Dutch do it better than anyone alive.
No idea. All right.
And in the stores, in the drugstore, you'll see them as Canadian mints, and I like those. And I saw those. I haven't been able to find those for a long time, but I saw them.
Crumble them up, snort them.
Well, no. I just like
chewing on them.
Yeah, and I love cinnamon gummy bears. I really love cinnamon gummy.
Really?
Yeah.
I just never saw you as a gummy bear kind of guy.
Well, not anymore.
Right. All right, so I'm calling this particular episode with you, Mr. Wing, I'm calling it My Life is a Prayer.
Not a bad title, I'd say.
How do you relate to that idea?
Well, I grew up Catholic in the full tradition, post Vatican II. Going to church Sundays, going to Catholic grade school, altar boy, and then later I was the apprentice and number 2 organist. So I would do the masses that the main guy didn't want to do. And so you pray, and you pray the way you learn the multiplication tables. You pray by rote. you know the prayer, but you don't hear it when you say it. You just say it, right?
Right.
So then I.
So wait, let's go into that for a second.
All right.
That world. What did you gain from that world? What was the positive part of the altar boy, the organist?
Okay, I'm not sure. I mean, clearly it was formative in a large sense, because I came out of it and wasn't particularly. I was lucky enough not to be traumatized by it.
Right.
But.
Did it feel good? Did you feel like this is home? Or was it just, I don't know.
Probably I did. But the things that I remember about it are not necessarily formative. I remember the pattern in the floor, because I would stare at it a lot and imagine it was 2552, 2552, 2552, right?
That is so you.
Yeah. Well, part of being a comedian or a writer in any real way is you have to get down to the floor and look at things from a perspective that you're not getting, right? I like the singing. I really like the music.
Yeah.
When I played it, when I sang it, I like those things. I found confession a little odd.
Could you please walk me through, seeing as a Jewish
Sure.
person who's never been in confession,
All right.
give me the experience.
Well, you are prepared at certain ages for the sacraments, right? So you're baptized when you have no idea, and then at 7 or 8 years old, you take First Communion, which is usually a big deal. There's a party, there are gifts, that sort of
Right.
thing.
It's like a bar mitzvah. So.
It is, but it more for the girls.
Okay.
Than for the girls
Communion dress.
The girls get a special dress, and there's
Right.
a lot going on there. It seemed to me anyway.
You got new socks.
Right, or new dress pants or something.
Right.
So you do First Communion, and you're informed that you're informed this thing that you're eating the body of Christ and you're drinking the blood of Christ. Although I was never a wine guy, thank heavens, because I'm an addict. But so and why this doesn't freak a child out, I don't know, but it didn't. Right? It doesn't freak you out. So okay, fine, and it's the most tasteless, disgusting thing you've ever put in your mouth, and you're not allowed to chew it. This was the biggest thing. That I think it later changed, but you're not allowed to chew it. So you have to get enough saliva on it to make it soft enough to swallow, and it is disgusting how long that takes and how bad it tastes. But I don't want to disparage the church in any way. No. So
just their choice of Triscuits.
right. So
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So if it had been Triscuits, I might have liked it better.
Rosemary and olive. I'll take the look. No.
You kneel. The supplication is.
But you're not alone. Everybody's doing it.
Yes, but you are alone in your experience.
So what was wrong with the
supposedly?
supplication?
Well, that you're kneeling and he's giving it to you.
Is that a bad thing?
No, but I don't think about it very often, and now I'm thinking about it, and it's a little creepy. You know what I mean?
Out
That's
of
all.
context.
Yeah. Like anything, I was talking to people at a rehab center on Saturday, and I was talking about how you have something, you're transitioning behavior. You have something you did, and you're transitioning to it's something you don't do. So you go from I do it to I don't do it. And you have to have a long period of days that you don't do it before it becomes habit and custom with you. And so I'm far away from it now.
And it becomes what you do.
Right. Right. It isn't what you don't do anymore. It's what you do.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
But
But wait, let's get back to...
Right. So supplication, you're kneeling a lot, you're getting up a lot. And there are masses of the year where you're kneeling a lot, and it's not comfortable, and
Right. It's not supposed to be, is it?
no, I'm sure it's not. I'm sure that's part of it. So anyway, getting back to confession, which is what your original thing. So when you're, I believe it's 12 or 13, the priest comes into your class, and you're going to be prepared to take the sacrament of confession, and he talks about you learn certain things to say because you have to say the same thing each time.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
Bless me, Father, for I have
I am
sinned.
heartily sorry for my sins, etc., etc. And he says,
No, say the whole thing.
well, no,
Do
okay.
you remember?
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. And he says, remember Jesus Christ is born your Savior. Trust in him and confess your sins. And you say, and here's the thing. This is just my opinion. But at 13, what do they want you to confess to?
Sexual.
There's one thing. You know what I'm saying? There's
Yeah.
one thing they don't want. I called my sister a bitch. I talked back to my mother. I stole something from a store.
Disobedience.
But you say something like that,
Yeah.
and then they say, "Did you do anything else?" And you had to prepare for. You went in on Saturday, and you the first few times you had to think, okay, what did I do?
Right.
You got to have a list because you can't go in and say I didn't do anything.
So you must
right?
be thinking about it during the week.
Yeah,
Because you know you're going in. So it's a sort of a way of self-regulation. Because you know, as you're doing the thing you're going to have to tell them about, oh my God, I'm
or
going to
your
have to tell them
parent, your
about
mother might say, you better mention that to Father Boyd on Saturday, right? My father told a story once on a hot summer day in a brand new white suit. He had to run in to go to confession before he went out on a date, and the priest was very. My father was 19 or 20 years old, and the priest was very. Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And my father told me, the suit didn't survive the confession. But it would depend on the priest you got to. Sometimes you would get a priest who was relatively easy about it. If you'd confess 3 or 4 things, and he'd say, "Is there anything else?" No, Father. Are you sorry for your sins? I am. And were you? That's the other thing. There was an aspect of it that was sham. You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
Well, okay, I get that part, and I hear that a lot, but I always thought there might be another part that isn't negative, where you actually unburden yourself to someone. We do this with therapists now, where you actually get to say and get it off of you and get blessed and,
Yep.
and do some healing about it, as opposed to the rest of us who just had to walk around going, I feel so awful about who I am and what I've done and who I am and what I do. And
Okay, but
does that not happen?
yes, in a way. And I later years in my life, I occasionally went back and occasionally found it good. But here's the funny part. Everything. I mean, what? Okay. As a preface to this, they are attempting to develop your personal conscience,
Right.
and that's a good thing.
Right.
It is a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about how they do it, but it is a good thing, and it does develop. And you cannot commit. I don't want to say a mortal sin, but I just said it. You cannot commit a mortal sin in your life and not have it hang over you to
Right.
this day, even
Right.
though I'm no longer a practicing Catholic, nor do I support the church. Even though that it's still there.
So here,
And that's why they do it when you're a kid, because it imprints itself upon you.
so here's the thing from the Jewish tradition. The word sin is not about an evil act. It is more about a inability to aim correctly. It is being off target.
It is about inaccuracy.
The Buddhists would call it to be unskilled in your approach to life, as opposed to being skilled in how you are dealing with life. You use an unskilled method to do things in your life. So what you would do is, yes, you would do something, but it's not because you're an evil person. There's no original sin to it. It's just that you're actually the kind of person who really doesn't have enough together to aim properly at what they want out of something. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You don't like it, though.
No, I don't like it, but it makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. What I don't like about it is you can be extremely skilled at doing bad things.
Well, I think when I use the word skillful in the Buddhist sense, it's not about making sure that you're really great at a Ponzi scheme.
Okay, exactly. That's
Yeah.
more or less what I was thinking about.
No, that's Wall Street.
What
All right.
the church? No, the key. There's a key here, though.
All right.
What the church wants is what yucks wanted in the old days. They want you tethered to them.
Right.
And what they don't tell you, and what you have to find out for yourself, is you can do it yourself. You can confess.
That's a Protestant point of view.
But you can.
No, I'm just saying the Protestant point of view was I don't need all these people to give me permission. I can be a religious and spiritual person, or either one or another.
Well, no, but I'm talking specifically about confessing.
Okay, confessing.
Confessing a sin to God as you understand.
But don't we do that with therapists
Him or
now?
her.
Aren't they our confessors? I'm going to tell you this. It's in strictest of confidence. And so I get to say, forgive me, therapist, for I have sinned. I'm having an affair with 3 different people.
But is the therapist there to forgive you? I'm not sure. The therapist is...
Well, to help you forgive yourself.
Exactly.
In some cases.
Exactly. And that's different.
Oh,
that's
okay.
different, I think.
I don't know if that's true. In a enlightened moment of confession, I would imagine an enlightened preacher would be able to help you to forgive yourself.
But I think the being tethered to the way the church does it, it closes you off.
Sure.
And like I have a friend who I've had since high school, but we reconnected a few years ago, and he walks the walk. He's one of those guys.
Right.
Walks the Jesus walk. And if you don't walk it, he couldn't care less.
Right.
He simply couldn't care less. It's his walk. It's not yours. Right?
Right.
He has his opinions. Occasionally we disagree. Big deal. Not a problem. So I would occasionally ask him to pray for things. When I quit smoking, I was with him for a day, and I said, I have to quit smoking, and I need help. I need strength. And I would like you to pray for that strength for me. And he is of the belief that I won't say it right. I'll have to paraphrase it. Whenever 2 or more get together in my name, I hear them, like that.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So he's that cool. So one day I'm on a plane and I'm flying somewhere, and I think, I need this to happen, or I need my daughter to be safe, or something I was thinking about. And I thought, I must call Daryl and ask him to pray for this.
So why wouldn't you pray? Why wouldn't you extemporaneously pray?
And then I thought to myself, well, I should pray for it first. And then I will tell him to pray for it, and then there will be 2, and then right?
Right.
And I told that story. We were hanging around, he and his wife and some other people, and I told that story. And I said, and then it occurred to me I could pray for it myself. And there was a pause, and his wife said, and it only took 6 years. And that's true, because here's another thing about growing up Catholic. You know things from the Bible, that the things they would like you to know. You are not encouraged in any way to read the Bible for yourself. They read things to you, and that's what you're supposed to know. And just relax. You don't need to know any more than that. And that isn't exactly blatantly said, but it's totally implied, in my opinion. And I'm sure there will be people who disagree. But
when you were a kid, did you ever want to be a preacher or a priest?
No.
Really?
No. It might have, a fleeting idea of it might have passed over on a.
See, I'm only saying it in a
day,
surprised way because I know that part of getting up on a stage as a stand-up comedian is wanting that same sermon moment that you can get in the other way, but with lots of laughs interspersed.
Right. It's funny. I'm working on something right now that I'm going to be trying tonight. And the whole problem with it is it's too preachy, and I'm trying to find a funny angle on something that I am actually passionate to speak about. It's very difficult.
When I remember when Mort Saul came to the club, were you around when Mort Saul came?
No, but I've met Mort Saul.
Yeah, not a fun guy.
No, but he's fascinating to talk to.
Yes, but my point was he came to the club and he preached. I mean, preached. Took out a newspaper and was preaching the gospel. And then every once in a while, he'd tell a really solid joke, right? He had a hat. And the place would go nuts. And I realized as a stand-up, you can say anything you want as long as you throw them a lifeline every once in a while where they get to laugh. You know,
well,
Uncle Dirty, you know,
but
all these kinds of comics who did that sort of thing.
You know, I Uncle Dirty, our audience might not know. His name was Robert Altman, and he died a couple of years ago in an old folks home in New Jersey. And I called him about a year before he died and say hello. How are you, Dirty? We always called him Dirty. And he said, John, great to talk to you. Did you hear? There's so much lead in the water in Flint. The child molesters are using magnets.
Oh, God.
And he was 84 years old, and he had a joke for me that he had written that day.
Oh my God!
And I told it to somebody, and they said, lead doesn't attract magnets. Lead wouldn't work. And I just thought, man, it's not.
Yeah, I was sort of on the child molester buzzkill, you know, in the joke, but yeah,
that was his type. That was his kind of joke.
Of course, because he was a provoker. Joke. All right, so so
I'm sorry, we've
left the Catholic Church.
I did leave, but it was weird. I had children, and I came back.
That's not weird. That's many people do that.
Yeah, but then okay, I had children.
So why did you come back?
I wanted them baptized.
Why?
Because it was foolish. Was it? Because I wanted them to have something of the childhood I had.
Okay.
Even though I was raising them in California with a woman who was not a Catholic and wasn't terribly religious, although she's not atheist. So I wanted them back for my parents, maybe. They had grandparents alive too when they were born. Anyway, so I had them baptized.
But it sounds like it was just a reflex. Like
maybe it might have been
somebody hits your knee. Your leg.
My mother had a baptismal dress that went back to 1879 with Cinzano Concilio, and the last two names on it are my daughter's, and it will probably be the last two names that are ever on it.
Oh, you never know.
You never know, but it's
continuity was important to you.
In a way, it was. And then when they got to reasonable thought process age, 4, 5, 6, I started taking them. When I was home, I would take them. I found a church I liked and a priest I liked, and I took them to church on Sundays.
Catholic
at
church.
Holy Redeemer in
did not know that.
La Cañada, California, or Montrose, California. And after about 6 to 8 months of that, this is the late 90s, I stopped and I never took them again.
Why?
There were disagreements I had with the church, and eventually I couldn't handle it. Especially LGBTQ, especially that really bothered me.
Yeah, it's a deal breaker for a lot of people.
The lack of compassion I was hearing from the pulpit for people, and I put it somewhere the other day. Whatsoever you do to the least of my brothers. I mean, I love the language that I grew up with. I love what it says, and I've learned things from priests. When I was long past having left, I went back. I was home one Christmas, and my mother said, "Come to church with me," and I did. And the priest did a sermon about the power of forgiveness, in that God gives us this power to forgive other people. And I had never looked at it that way, and I was fascinated by it, and it has informed me ever since. Not that I'm a perfect person or anything like that.
You're so close.
I'm so awful.
You're so close.
But I have reached out to people and attempted, because hating someone, this is what I'm trying to talk about on stage right now, is hate, which I don't understand. But because it is poison. It is not hurting you.
Well, that's what you say. Hate is the poison you drink, hoping to kill the other person.
Right. If I hate you, it doesn't hurt you. Well, if you knew I hate it. But let's say I hate let's say I hate Justin Trudeau. Is that putting a crimp in his day?
Or
really?
Donald Trump.
Or Donald Trump. It's not. So it's only poisoning me. And that's what I'm trying to talk about.
All right, I want to talk about, because it is a narrative of your life, addiction.
Okay.
Not in a tell me all your things.
Not in a bad way.
but how you have spiritually navigated addiction.
Well, not perfectly. You know, I got away from it by myself and did 5 years without any meetings or programs. And I saw the 5th anniversary of being sober as some great destination, some great end of the journey place, right? Where I would be happy again. And
You'd be free.
Yeah. And turned out the great city was a big hole in the ground. So I discovered, I was talking about this the other day at the place, which was God was looking out for me until I could look out for myself. And a few times, I'm sure he went, look, I'm doing my best here. I'm sending rowboats. I'm sending people to help you, and you're just not getting it. And he still looks out for me when I'm not able to, or when I ask him to, or when I'm not able to look out for myself, et cetera, et cetera. But you are told in your life, I had a vision, I had a dream vision when I quit drugs, and you're in later years.
What was the vision?
It was I was on my deathbed, and this was a fantasy I'd had all my life.
Okay,
being on my deathbed, and everyone was sad, really sad, and apologizing to me. But this was a new one.
Apologizing to you.
Because of the awful way they treated me.
Wow.
This was a new one. How old was I? I was 35 years old. I was on my deathbed, and I was apologizing for everything. And I thought, I don't want to die apologizing for everything I did. What is it? What's the old joke? I just want to know when God gets to, he's going to be reading a list of my sins, and when he gets to, and you ate a Big Mac, he'll be finished. It's an old joke that I'm just doing the punchline. But yes, so, and there are other visions. God, 5 years ago, give or take, I had a vision that said, if you don't stop smoking, you'll be dead in 10 years. And this is how it's going to happen. And it was very clear, and that's when I stopped. So there are visions.
Have
you had visions?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you is tell me about visions.
It's not visions. Something that seems to be you but isn't you. Something that sounds like you but isn't you, says something to you.
Out of body? Or just another aspect of you?
It can be out of body or not. But in each case, it is imparting this truth to you that you, for some reason, you stubborn bastard, are refusing to face. It is giving you a truth. And occasionally, like I got ill when I was 40 or 41. I got wildly ill and I almost died. And it manifested itself in lesions from head to foot.
Wow. And
it was stress from leading this incredibly bad double life, this constant lying, this constant bullshit that I was laying on in my relationship and my life, and that's how it manifested itself. Wow. And now I know that it's so much less stressful to not have to lie about something.
I'm going to ask you a question about this, though.
Okay.
If all of those years you had regularly gone to confession, would you have let that mountain get that big?
Well, possibly, but
You know what I mean? Like if you have to keep telling someone that you're doing these things.
If you can confess, I could confess something to a priest and still hide it from others.
Except if you're confessing that you're hiding it from others, you're surfacing the issue. Forgive me, Father, because I'm
True.
lying to my wife.
I'm lying to my wife. Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
And then you go home and lie to your wife and think, wow, I'm really, this is a thing.
It is.
Right? Because now I know that somebody knows that I'm doing this, and I'm doing it right now. Look at that. Like, I'm not saying you should.
No, it's an excellent question. It's excellent. I don't know. You could easily be right that it would have been much easier. And my arms are folded and I've closed up because I don't want to accept this particular thing.
Who the hell invited this guy into my head? I thought he was my friend.
I got to say this. You are not a rabbi. This is not why I came here.
I'm here for the Kiddush.
I learned there's a word I love, opsimath.
Don't know that.
Opsimath. It means someone who learns things way late.
Isn't that all of us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It is to a degree. But
so when you're going through dealing with those addictions in the first place, I know that AA has the idea of there is a higher power. And
yes.
Was there something where you remember actually the process of surrendering yourself up to a higher power?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It's a way to accept that there are things you don't control. Because one of the big problems is if I get mad about this, what I want to happen will happen faster, right?
What does that mean?
Well, if I am frustrated, when you're addicted, when you're an addict, it's harder to recognize things that are actually out of your control, so that your stress about them, your anger, your frustration is completely useless.
Not the addictions themselves, but the things you stress about in life.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And so here, as an example, being a comedian, your only two rules in life are in your job are about time. Be on time. Do your time. That's all it is. Time. So being on time is enormous to me. Getting to the airport on time, missing a flight, having a difficult connection that's short and I have to make the connection. And ever since I got to AA, which is now 20 years ago, I am able to reduce my stress by literally saying, I'm giving this to you.
Right.
And I say God, but it doesn't have to be God. I'm just taking it away from me. I'm giving it to you. Your child leaves the house. This is something I know you can relate to. Your child leaves the house and your concern for the child rises and your information regarding the child goes down to almost nothing.
Almost nothing.
And so I have raised this child as best as I can, and now they are in the world. And if they call and want help, I am going to help. But the rest of the time, I have to leave this to you. I cannot control this. I cannot get mad at my child for getting, shall we say, a tattoo, or let's go a little further and say a second tattoo, because it is not in my control.
Unless it's of you, of course.
No, it's
I got
not.
my dad on my right shoulder.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
But
care about him. Is he dead? No, not yet. But I've got my dad on my right shoulder.
In the prayer, to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And really, really, the wisdom to know the difference is probably the most important thing.
So when you say God, what is God to you?
The best part of me.
Oh.
The goodness that is in me.
Really?
Yes. The thing that informs me to be good is God.
Wow. I'd never thought. To me, I have a God is everything is God kind of head. So for me, if you have God, God is also all the bad things. God is everything. Right? So
did you grow up with, but you didn't grow up with the devil is the big deal,
No,
right?
no, we don't have, we have angels, but we don't have devils, heavens, hells.
They bring
that are
chicken soup, I understand.
a touch. A touch. Or vegan chicken soup in my case. But no, that's the thing, is that there's a totality, that everything is God, not God is the good part of me. Now that's just...
But I'm maybe it's a selfishness for me. God is my experience.
That sounds like a guardian angel to me.
But that's my idea of God.
Like there are 4 archangels, right?
Yes.
There's Michael,
I've met Michael. No, I'm kidding.
Just John Travolta. That's the movie. Michael, which is the angel of love, and then there's Gabriel, which is the angel of strength.
Okay.
And then there's Uriel, who is the angel of vision, and Raphael is the angel of healing.
Ah.
So those 4 angels in mystical Judaism are the things
Love,
that surround
strength,
you. Love,
vision,
strength, vision, and healing. Right? And that a meditation would be to revolve around all 4 of those angels as your guardians and your archangels, in that order.
But you could see that as
not God.
Four-way stations controlled from the core, which is God. You could certainly see.
Sure,
that.
of course, but just the idea that God is the goodness of us. Because somebody put a rock in our neighborhood from the evangelical church around the corner,
okay,
and they had painted it, "God is good," and I thought, okay, they're clearly not Jewish.
Yes,
because you know what? It's a little more complicated than that.
Well, yes, but does it need to be? Does it need to be more complicated than that?
I wasn't saying it like
good
you're
is
wrong.
God is just as
no. I'm not saying it like you're wrong.
No,
I'm saying it's so interesting to me because I don't see God as only about goodness. I just see it as about the totality of everything, which has to encapsulate the bad as well.
Yes, I don't see. I believe in science. I believe in evolution. Another reason I had a problem with the church.
They're not compatible.
They could be. The Pope has attempted to.
Did you read the Pope's encyclical?
I have not read it, but
you should. It's fantastic.
The Pope. I like this Pope.
Right.
But I know
it's a dry Pope.
I like this Pope, but there's not a. There is a randomness to life. Right. There really is. Yeah. I just read a book I'm going to recommend to your listeners, The Tangled Tree by David Quammen, who is someone I love and read a lot. And it talks about the randomness of the way genes latch on and clap on and clap off you. But
flame on.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey Google, I need this gene. So I don't see God in a physical world sense.
Right.
I see him, and I don't see him necessarily, or I shouldn't even say him.
The him.
I don't. I grew up with that. It's bad for me to say the him. I see the non-binary God.
I see it.
I see. Yes, I remember. This freaked me out. I'll tell you a quick story. Grade 5, Miss Hillman, who later married an ex-priest. Miss Hillman said, "What is heaven?" She asked us, "What is heaven?" And we were saying it. We were trying to get it, and she was saying, no. And finally she said, "Heaven is a state of being." And I never forgot it. And I don't know why I didn't forget it. The older I get, the more I wonder what in the name of God she was doing, telling a group of whatever.
Well, clearly she had a purpose.
10-year-old kids in grade 5 at a Catholic school that heaven was a state of being, because none of us knew what she meant. Right? But God is what makes me good. God is what makes me want to be good. When I pray, I ask for the path. And this is something I've always done since I was in my late teens. Show me the path. I can walk the path. I can get to where you want me to go if you show me the path.
Do you think there's a place God wants you to go?
Absolutely.
And where is it? What is it?
I ain't there.
You don't know?
Well, he got me to where I am.
Right.
You know, we have discussed this privately before. I said to my daughters, the best thing you can do when choosing someone to marry is to be really lucky. And I was really lucky. And not only that I married that person, but that she stayed with me and we got through some very difficult periods. And now our children left and we discovered this awesome thing that was 25, 30 years after we met. All the things we liked about each other were there, still intact, waiting for us to come back to a place where we could be together without children in the house.
So now...
And that's luck, and that's God, and that's God saying, here's the path, walk the path.
Okay.
Right?
All right. So a life of stand-up, a life of thinking of what to say to people. Is stand-up a prayer? Or is it just a craft?
It's totally a craft, but it's a prayer if you can conjoin the word prayer with fantasy, because what stand-up is, it is something that happened to you that you embellish fantastically.
But in sharing that with an audience, in that moment, in that night, when that joke explodes, and there's that moment where you don't have to work for a minute. You can just be with these people.
Oh, baby. But did you see Nanette? Did you see the Hannah Gadsby special?
No.
Does anyone here?
Oh, I did. Yes.
Okay. She talked.
She deconstructs her entire act,
but it was beautiful,
and it was also viciously painful to listen to.
Paradigm changing, though, and you can already see in 2 years.
No, it was beautiful.
The changes that it has wrought in the business, in the idea of what stand-up is, and she talked about how you create tension and then you release it. I can give you an example. You ready? You want a quick example?
Yes.
Okay. I talk on stage about my neighbor Bill, who is a retired policeman, and he's a gun enthusiast. He has a big display case in his front room, and it's full of guns. And every time he buys a new gun, he invites me over to see it. And he had me over a few weeks ago, see the new Glock. Oh, lovely. Oh, it's nice. It's shiny. You know, what do you say? And he said, you want to hold it? Oh, fine. Okay, I'll hold it.
Just touch it.
I hold up my hand for it. Right. Touch it.
Please, just touch it.
And I hold up my hand. He gives him, and he looks at me a little funny, and he says, hey, John, how many guns you got over your house? And I said, oh, God, well, if I had to count, none. And he says, none? What are you, crazy? What if somebody tries to break into your house? And I said, well, I'm on the road a lot, Bill. Odds are I won't be home. And he said, what if somebody breaks in and tries to have sex with your wife? And I said, well, he could try. I'm not sure a gun would actually work in that situation. She doesn't respond to metal. And so when I tell that joke, the audience, especially on a cruise ship,
right, where you do a lot of your work.
I do a lot of my work. They're older, and there's a tension. By merely discussing the topic in a fairly innocuous way, I don't make a judgment upon it at all. But by merely bringing it up, I create a tension. And then at the when we go to he could try, right, I've already released a little tension with I won't be home. And then when we turn over into the fact that he can try to have sex with my wife if he wants, we don't have to deal with right.
You let him off the hook.
Yeah. And I also say something pretty funny. So and so we're deconstructing a little joke here, but it's the creation of tension and the release of tension.
But that's not a prayer, or maybe
no, it's
it is.
not. Comedy is about producing a sound that makes me feel really good because it means they like me. That's all comedy is to me.
Huh?
I'm.
You don't want to leave them with something.
No. That's too dangerous to me. That's too dangerous to think. Not too dangerous to do. I'm going to leave them with something regardless, because I can't do comedy without being me, without showing me, right?
Right. Right. So you're sharing the human condition.
I am, absolutely, but I do not ever worry or think about leaving them with something. No.
So you're communing with them. You're saying we're all in this together. I'm like you. I'm a human being.
Yes, you must connect. Yes, but see, you're looking at it, and not to criticize, but Ralph, sit down. We must talk.
Office.
You're looking at it from almost purely from a philosophical standpoint. Many years removed from the last time you did it, and we all do it for different reasons too. It's not. I'm not saying everyone should do it for the reason I do it, or does, but you're looking at it from afar.
No, I'm looking at it from a religious point of view, because I would tell you the same thing if you were a rock singer and there were 15,000 people in the arena and they were all listening to you sing a song. I see that as a spiritual experience. I don't see it as just a genital experience.
No. I'm not seeing it as
body.
I'm not seeing that either. But what I'm saying is, I believe if I think that,
it's not funny if it's not true, right? I mean, it's got to have an essence of sincerity to it. You can't just keep contriving things, or can you?
You can't. That's true. Something in it has to be true,
right?
And it should be the thing that starts it.
So if a comic says, "Why is it we look between our legs when we go to the bathroom? What are we checking for exactly?" Everyone in the audience goes, "Oh, thank God I'm not alone. I thought I was the weird guy who looks at his own feces."
Yes, but you can't write it.
We do.
You can't write. Right? No, absolutely.
Sorry, just asking.
You can't write
for
it.
A friend.
You can't write it with that idea in mind.
No, but it doesn't. You don't need to. It's not that you need an intentionality. It is second nature just to know that you have to be sincere in what you're writing, or else it's not going to be funny. You don't just write for construct.
I recently wrote 2 10-minute sets to give to Winnipeg Comedy Festival to submit for possibly being on their gala next year, and I went to a comic friend of ours, Simon Rakoff, to help me with them before I submitted them, and he had some ideas for one, and he had some ideas for the other, and as I was working on the particular one, I realized, this is not you, John. This is not
right.
This is not your voice.
Okay,
this is not you.
So I'm saying all this to get to the point of you as a prayer.
Yes.
So if John Wing is a prayer, what is that prayer?
Oh, I haven't thought of that. If John Wing, you mean the performer?
No,
just John Wing is a prayer. My prayer is fail better, show me the path. Fail better is a great prayer. Samuel Beckett. Yeah. Try, fail, try again, fail better. Unfortunately, the generation we've produced, that we've raised, I don't think they understand the value of failure the way we do.
You think they just want success?
No, I don't. They
just want to leapfrog.
No. I don't think they.
You sound like an old fogey.
I do, but I don't think they.
Like a
I don't. You have to fail first. You remember? You saw me.
I do it every day.
You. Well, of course, but at what you want the most, you must fail first.
Right.
There's no. I tell people I did comedy the first night and I destroyed, and then a week later I did the exact same thing, and it was there was no sound. They hated me. It was awful, and that hooked me. That was the catalyst, right? And oh God, you know what? My prayer is, I be good. Find a way to be good. Find a way to help. Faust sold his soul to the devil for a moment of perfect contentment, and he found it helping someone on the street, helping an old man across the street. And I can just imagine him looking up, saying, "I sold my soul for this, for this. I sold my soul." I was going to
get something out of it. Instead, this guy gets across the street.
Yeah. That's why when a guy...
Service, and
service is exactly right.
But service is also a highly Catholic virtue.
And a highly AA. Here's a key about AA. When you talk about prayer, at the end of AA meetings, when I first started going to AA, and God led me to this meeting, God through certain people, through these ricochets, I ended up at this meeting, and And we do the Lord's Prayer. You hold hands and you do the Lord's Prayer at the end of the meeting. And I heard it for the first time in years. I actually heard the prayer and started deconstructing it like a poem. What does this line mean? What does that line mean? And I realized that the prayer is meaningless if you cannot do the forgive those who trespass against us. If you can't do that, it's a meaningless prayer to me.
Right.
And I learned that by saying it and actually hearing it, rather than, okay, it's the end of, so we're going to say the Our Father now so we can all go home and get drunk and watch football, right?
Right.
So that's forgiveness is the prayer. Forgive myself, forgive others. Don't hate.
Don't hate. Well, I pray for you.
That, stop it. I hate you.
No, I do. I do. Those things that you know, that those shadows that sometimes walk beside you for the things that have happened and the things you've done to yourself.
Yes.
That you find a way to make peace with all of them and enjoy and savor the moments that you have with those who you love, because you love them dearly.
A beautiful sentiment. And to you as well.
Thank you, sir.
Or as the Catholics would say, and also with you.
Better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. That's what my people say. John Wing, can I still call you John Wing Jr.?
Of course.
John Wing Jr., stand-up comedian, poet, philosopher king, and
philosopher prince. It's too much ego.
Scourge of the heavily armed suburbs of Los Angeles. Thank you for doing this. I really
My pleasure.
appreciate it. I'm Ralph Benmergui. This is Not That Kind of Rabbi, my podcast. And we're hoping that you enjoy it as much as I enjoy doing it with you and getting to be with these people and share a little bit of time. If you want to get in touch with me, it's Ralph Benmergui, at Ralph Benmergui for Twitter, Ralph Benmergui on Facebook, and ralphbenmergui@gmail.com if you want to drop me a line and tell me what you think and all of that sort of stuff. You take care of each other, and I'll see you again on Not That Kind of Rabbi.
This podcast has been produced by TMDS and accelerated by Roam Phone. Roam Phone brings you the most reliable virtual phone service to run your business and protect your home number from unwanted calls. Visit roamphone.ca to get started.